yeah, it's very common now, chargeback fraud, where you just buy something and then you charge it back and you get your money back. And there doesn't seem to be good safeguards in place to prevent repeat offenders from continuing to do that, unfortunately. I still get people that are like, what do you mean? Like, they paid me. Like, this is good. Like, I'm set. What do you mean you want me to cancel this order? Like, this is my money now, you know?
My money, and I want
my money. Exactly. Not sustainable. Fraud is the biggest concern, and the true fraud, the stolen cards and that kind of junk, like, needs to absolutely get automated and absolutely get eliminated.
Well, welcome to linked2podcast. We've got Mark. We've got Cosmos. Mark Wagner is from Disputifier. Cosmos is, of course, with Link2Pay. Now, are we also with Pay Cosmos? Cosmos?
We are with Pay Cosmos.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, listen, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Disputifier?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
Excited to be here. My name is Mark Wagner. I'm the founder of Disputifier. And I've essentially been in the game of helping merchants with chargebacks for the past almost 6 years now. Before that, I was an e-commerce merchant myself. And as you can probably imagine, I had some chargebacks. So basically just, dedicated the past, couple years of my life to helping merchants to mitigate all the issues with chargebacks and, prevent the system that feels very unfair to a ton of merchants out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Why would you say it feels unfair?
I've been there. I don't know if you have, where you get a chargeback and you have done everything right. You've delivered the product, you've paid Meta to get the customer, you paid the shipping costs, you paid the product costs. You're running on slim margins as it is, and then it feels like the customer just kind of steals the money back from you. And then a system that's supposed to be designed to help even the playing field is designed in favor of the customer, because obviously the bank makes money off of their customers, so they're incentivized to side it with the customer so they can keep making money, which obviously is only logical. We can't blame them for this, but as a merchant, it can feel really unfair.
And how would you say that Disputifier helps make it more even of a playing ground for the merchants?
Yeah, so we do everything that we can to put merchants' best foot forward. A lot of merchants, if they're responding to a chargeback, they're going to do so in a way that is emotional because they feel like they just got that money stolen from them. And they typically don't do a good job of presenting the facts. Like, if you look at a lawsuit, for example, you're not going to have emotion in that, right? You're not going to have, this customer stole money and it was delivered on time and all that kind of stuff. Like, you're going to have facts, you're going to have evidence, typically pictures, and you're going to structure it in a way that's very easy to understand. So that's what we try to do for merchants. And outside of that, we have a bunch of features to help prevent chargebacks from occurring in the first place.
Wow. So not only do you lose the money, you're out the product as well.
You're out the product. There's additional fees for the chargeback. I mean, there's a lot of studies that say for every $1 loss to a chargeback, it's about $2.50 that the merchant actually loses. So it's a problem.
Well, it's a good way for somebody to get a free product, it sounds
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah. And a lot of Gen Z consumers have realized that, specifically the Gen Zs, because they just don't think there's consequences to any actions, how it is. And yeah, it's very common now, chargeback fraud, where you just buy something and then you charge it back and you get your money back. And there doesn't seem to be good safeguards in place to prevent repeat offenders from continuing to do that, unfortunately. I've done my own fair share of chargebacks, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But obviously only when I feel like, the merchant has really wronged me. And I think a lot of customers just do it to get a free product.
Or for research.
Research purposes. I have lost chargebacks as a customer, though.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's safeguards in place for controlling how many chargebacks a consumer can do.
Exactly.
But there is something coming very soon for the merchants.
Exactly. Yeah, they only care about merchants, which I think that needs to be flipped. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton. It used to be 3%. That used to be what merchants could run at in terms of chargebacks. And this was granted like decades ago, but still. And then it gradually got lower and lower and lower. And now we're looking at 0.5% on Visa, which is incredibly low.
Because of VAMP.
Because of VAMP. Yeah. Now, VAMP is designed for processors, which means that It's essentially designed to cut down on high-risk processors or make them balance their books a little bit better. Now, for merchants, they actually increased the thresholds for merchants, believe it or not, now at 1.5% for merchants, which is decent. And there's also a huge volume threshold. So you got to be at 1,500 disputes a month to breach on the merchant level. But on the processor level, obviously 1,500 is not that much.
Right.
And then it's set at 0.5%, which is incredibly low and obviously challenging for the ecosystem.
Well, how do you think it's going to change as far as the ecosystem and how processors deal with high risk?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it really depends on the processor. I think that it has the opportunity to upend a lot of processors. I think a ton of people are worried. And some processors actually aren't too bad because ultimately it's about balancing your high risk business with your low risk business, and it's flipping that on its head. Whereas you used to be able to balance your high risk business with a bunch of retail, you can't do that anymore because it's only card not present that's going to balance it out. So it puts these processors in a tricky spot where they need to go find low risk card not present business, of which there's not that much out there.
If you don't have the ISV markets and the technology to get those ISVs, there's not really a way to balance.
Right,
So,
right, absolutely. So some processors are more balanced than others. Some processors are going to be more affected than others. But ultimately what it means from a high level is cuts and stricter underwriting. And that's kind of that, and obviously the necessity to implement more technology to help merchants and, yada, yada, yada. But like from a really high level, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be stricter underwriting. It's going to be more terminations. And that's going to go across the board for almost all high risk processors.
And that's imminent because that's coming in, what, next week?
Yeah, technically October 1st is when penalties begin for VAMP. From what I hear, it's going to be based off of the data from October. So merchants may not see penalties or processors may not see penalties until November.
Okay.
Still.
But the training wheels come off.
Oh, it's coming around the corner before you know it. Yeah. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, it's going to get pushed off. It's going to get pushed off. But the closer we get to it, the less likely it is it gets pushed off, unfortunately. We'll see. They did definitely botch the rollout, but can't talk too much shit about Visa on the podcast.
Visa's never done anything wrong. In that.
I love Visa, man.
There you go. We all love Visa.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a special segment of the show.
Do we now?
Yeah. You're going to get introduced to a gentleman named Johnny.
Okay. Is that where someone swings an axe through the door and then?
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close.
Oh,
Pretty close.
all right.
Well, we figured the logic was that although payments is a scintillating subject,
Okay.
that we might need to break it up just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
English major.
Absolutely. I don't know what scintillating.
Oh, scintillating?
I think
Yeah.
he makes
Exciting,
Stimulating.
stimulating.
Got
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
USC major, English major. Right there.
Let's go.
A lot of English.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Every now and then you'll throw it into conversations
Once in a while.
just so people acknowledge your major.
Yeah, pretty much.
You gotta get your money's.
I got to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I went to USC when it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Couldn't imagine going there now.
Now you'd have to throw it into every sentence.
I
to be
know,
worth
to
it.
get your money back.
I say, so people know I'm a college dropout.
I like it.
Well done. Okay, so Johnny's here now. So John, what are you going to do? You're here. You got a bet for Cosmos? Are you trying to get him to?
Mark.
Yeah, I got to do.
Oh, Mark's going to do it. Okay, I thought because these guys were basketball
You
players.
think
Okay,
so?
right. Okay.
Challenge for Mr. Mark.
Oh yeah.
$100 on the line.
$100.
Woo.
Shot.
Okay.
You know, $100.
Yeah.
If you miss it though, you'll be $100.
Done. Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's get it.
All right.
All right, here you go, sir.
Can I dunk it?
No dunking, cool.
Is dunking allowed?
Fair shots only.
And here's Johnny.
I'm not paying you. That was rigged.
Yeah, that was rigged. That wasn't fair.
Fair shot. Okay.
Oh,
he moved it.
Oh, he did. He moved it. He moved it. He moved it. The whole thing's rigged.
All right.
Collect after the show.
Yeah.
So it evened out. It evened out. Yeah.
John's gonna wait for you outside. Like,
Thanks,
where's my
John.
money?
Yeah, for real. I'm getting jumped on the way out of here.
Yeah. I think, Mark, actually, you made that second one. He just kind of,
I think so.
Yeah.
He moved it.
it's like a carnival deal.
Yeah, exactly. The
Bye,
hoop is
John.
oval. It just doesn't look
Exactly.
that way. Bye, John.
Bye, John.
Okay.
Best segment of the show.
Best segment.
Yep.
Now, to get back into the art of payments.
You have to.
You wanted to shoot some more basketballs?
Yeah. Well, kind of a fun thing we can segue to is trade shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I used to go to a lot of trade shows, and now the younger guys are doing the trade shows, I understand. So you guys met up at a trade show.
We did. Yeah, absolutely.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, how's your experience been from trade shows? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's can bring
yeah.
on new business?
I love trade shows. I mean, obviously, there's only so many opportunities you get to meet people face to face and shake some hands and grab a drink. And that's just, in my opinion, like in the age of Zoom and Teams and Slack, it's just.
Or do surfing.
Yes, absolutely.
In Arizona.
Absolutely. It's
know,
great to get a
RPs.
little bonding in,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I think the industry needs more of that. And I cherish every opportunity, unless it's Northeast Acquires, in which case you're never going to see me there. But all the other shows,
Really?
I love.
Next year's in Boston, I think.
Yeah.
Boston's a great city.
Yep. You have fun. But
Me sitting there eating oysters by myself.
you do that. But yeah, love some trade shows. It's always good seeing you, and I will be in most of them for sure. Some of them get a little too big, a little too corporate. The money 2020s. Even the ETA is just borderline. Maybe a little too big.
Big
But,
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the smaller shows, couple hundred
Yeah.
people. Always a good time, and particularly the ones here on the West Coast, they just seem to be a lot more fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I think Chicago was a great show this year.
Yep.
Scottsdale was awesome.
Yep.
Florida was good.
Good.
Very humid and sweaty.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
don't like Florida. But it was a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the ones closer to the West Coast because the processors in California know how to have fun. The other ones, it's kind of hit and miss, but California's got the fun processors.
Yeah, and the best podcasts.
Absolutely. Best payments podcast on the planet right there. So besides that, I wanted to just finish that previous discussion.
Sure, pick it up.
Not to get too nerdy on you,
Yeah.
but I feel like in terms of VAMP, we probably didn't go over kind of what people can do. We were just all doom and gloom, like the world's ending, terminations, underwriting, close up shop, which a lot of people, it seems like it's on both sides of the fence and no one's really in the middle. A lot of people are like, oh, this is the end of the world. Someone asked me what I'm going to do with Disputifier. Like, am I going to close it down? And I'm like,
I would think it's the best thing that's ever happened to you.
I was going to say.
it's pretty good. Yeah. So a lot of people are really far on the doom and gloom side. And then a lot of people are really far and they're like, it's okay. Visa's going to change their mind. It won't. It's all right. Yeah. It'll all work out.
You do hear that. It'll be kind of, applied and then adjusted and applied and adjusted. And,
Yeah.
maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who
Maybe
knows?
some truth to that,
Yeah.
But I think it's always good to take a balanced perspective where you have to understand both perspectives, but you got to be a realist, right? So being a realist, there's VAMP coming around the corner and there's a handful of things you can do about it, none of which are going to be 100%, certain and fail safe. But you got to do everything you can because, obviously it has the potential to cause more terminations and stricter underwriting. And the more you do to prevent that, the better off you're going to be as business and payments. So I'd love to kind of go over some of those.
Yeah.
First
Definitely.
off, VAMP is about fraud, right? And fraud comes in many forms. Fraud, to your point, can be a customer just trying to get a free product. Fraud can be a stolen credit card. Fraud can be, they forgot about a subscription. Fraud can be a lot of things, right? So it's important to understand the true root of fraud, right? Whether that is a combination of a bunch of factors, whether it's, billing practices, whether it is the inability to find and cancel fraudulent orders, which so many merchants still don't understand. I still get people that are like, what do you mean? Like, they paid me. Like, this is good. Like, I'm set. What do you mean you want me to cancel this order? Like, this is my money now,
My money, and I want
my
it.
money. Exactly. Not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So I think educating merchants on that and having them understand the nuances between it is super important, because fraud is what you can't remove with RDR anymore. Because you can remove chargebacks. You've always, well, not always, but you've been able to, for the past couple of years, remove chargebacks on Visa with RDR. But you can't remove the TC40s with RDR.
Right.
TC40 is just a fraud notice, right? It's just a fancy word for a fraud notice. And that's normally associated with a fraud chargeback. There are exceptions, but typically, fraud chargeback comes in, you get a chargeback, you get TC40. Chargeback can get resolved by RDR, TC40, you're kind of stuck with. And that's what inflates the VAMP ratios. That's why everyone's freaking out. If it was able to be captured by RDR, we would not be having this discussion, right? Everyone would be fine with it.
Well, Disputifier has certain fraud prevention tools to prevent fraud.
Yeah.
Blocking certain country codes or certain bins.
Yep.
So how is that gonna affect, VAMP and keeping those TC40s down?
Yeah. I mean, that's step number one, right? Because you got to do everything you possibly can to filter out the stolen credit cards, because there's enough of the friendly fraud, what it's called, when a customer just wants to get a free product. There's enough of that to go around, right? And if you're going to be dealing with that, then you certainly don't want to be dealing with the stolen cards and, all the BS that the criminals essentially are trying to get by on you. So it's super important to have like a robust fraud prevention system in place. We have our own, and that's essentially using AI to scan transactions for any fraud risk. It runs it through a massive database of tens of billions of transactions, and it delivers a risk score and a risk analysis, helping merchants understand what may be an issue with the order, whether the order is safe, whether it's potentially risky, and can help automate like verifying the order, refunding the order, that kind of stuff. So that's number one. I mean, like I said, fraud is the biggest concern, and the true fraud, the stolen cards and that kind of junk, like, needs to absolutely get automated and absolutely get eliminated, like, as much as you possibly can, which is a lot. It's, especially with the AI tools nowadays, like, they're good. You can find fraud and you can do it very, very effectively without affecting real customers, which obviously is the concern of many brands, many e-com merchants. They don't want to reject real customers, which is valid, but tools are good nowadays to help prevent that. If you're just using like the basic gateway tools though, like that's going to happen, If it's just like AVS, like decline if the AVS doesn't match, then like you're screwed. You're going to refund way more orders than you should be. So that's obviously step number one. And then there's a few kind of sub alert programs facilitated by Visa, surprise, surprise, double dipping a little bit, that can help with VAMP. So the only one that's technically written to help with VAMP is compelling evidence. That's literally in their guidelines for VAMP is, if it's covered by compelling evidence, it doesn't count against your VAMP ratio. They excluded every other alert program except that one from, essentially not helping with VAMP. So that one is written to help with VAMP. Compelling evidence, it's, kind of hit or miss, depends on the merchant. Some merchants get a ton of use out of it. Some merchants maybe not so much. It's mainly designed for subscription merchants because the requirements are 2 or more purchases older than 4 months. So, who's that really going to apply to? Typically subscription merchants. So that's another one I would say is a must, especially for, subscription merchants and certain merchants where it's frequent to have repeat purchases. So compelling evidence, huge plus. Obviously, Visa is trying to push people towards it, which is why, they wrote it in the rules to help with VAMP. Ultimately, I'd rather go with the tide than against the tide. I would say compelling evidence is a huge plus. And then outside that, revisiting some of the alert programs that people haven't really cared about in years. So for a long time, people just cared about RDR because it worked. But RDR in the age of VAMP is not the end-all be-all. And some of the older alert programs that have existed for quite some time, such as CDRN alerts and Ethica alerts, can actually have more of an impact on VAMP, dare I say, than RDR alone can. And internally verified Visa's product is working on improving these alert programs a lot. Like the coverage network has gotten a lot better, and it seems like they're kind of trying to push people to use these solutions that were just a year or two ago thought to be essentially legacy products that not many people were on. But since they do have some impact in preventing TC40s, it seems like we've seen more and more people start to adopt those products and will likely continue to do so. So it's kind of, there is no end all be all solution for VAMP, like I was saying. But if you can stack a bunch of solutions, fraud scanning, order insight and compelling evidence, CDRN alerts, ethic alerts, and finally RDR, and then you cap that out with like the basic stuff like clear billing descriptors and, subscription reminder emails and like better customer support and all this stuff that's like kind of basic, but a lot of merchants have been forgetting it because all their chargebacks go to RTR and they never have issues. I think we're going to start to see the overall ecosystem improve, which ultimately is all we can really ask for, right? That's what Visa's going for. Instead of working against Visa, you got to work with Visa. So that's what I would likely recommend. We sure love Visa here, and we got to do what they want. So that's my thoughts on VAMP and what can be done to help mitigate the impacts of it as much as possible.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. Very concise, very, I think, easy to understand information. I mean, even I understood it. But, so, Cosmos, from a perspective of a link to pay Cosmos, what are you thinking about related to what Mark's saying about VAMP from your perspective?
I kind of touched on it earlier, where getting the card not present low risk is going to be more important than ever. So partnering with a gateway or a processor that has technology that opens up the ISV market is going to be huge now.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go and, offer grocery stores or anything retail the best deal to try to balance out your books.
Right.
You have to go and get that card not present. So partnering with those partners that have the tools available to open up those markets are going to be the next step in payments.
So those are things like a feature pack gateway, APIs, all the different things that they can leverage to go after those markets.
Seamless onboarding, essentially as close as to a PayFac, but being an MSP as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the processor side, I don't think most processors will run into issues, but I do think that a lot of agent offices that specialize in high risk will start seeing pushback. And Mark, I'd be really interested in hearing your opinion as far as what agent offices can do, who they can partner with if it's Disputifier to help, eliminate some of that pushback that they're going to start getting from processors.
Yeah. I mean, you want your book to be as clean as it can possibly be. And some of these agents that do a lot of high risk obviously have built a reputation for themselves that's both good and bad. So I think that overall, merchants get vetted first off their agent, right? So even if it's a really clean deal, if it comes from an agent that's a little known for sending some higher risk deals, then that's going to obviously negatively play into it. So I think all agent offices should be mandating alerts that run through them, because if you just kind of leave it up to the merchant, it's really a hit or miss. Sometimes it's set up and it's all good and there's no issues. Sometimes it's partially set up, but it's really not optimized and the merchant's still running pretty hot. Sometimes the merchant says it's set up and then it's not, or they disable it at some point. So I ultimately think that the more upstream chargeback mitigation goes, starting from the agent offices to the processors to the acquiring banks, the better it is for the merchants, because you ultimately want to make sure that the merchants are protected. And that's going to help everyone. That's going to help the agent offices. That's going to help the processors. It's going to help everyone in the entire ecosystem if merchants have a dialed setup. And I think that goes on agents, because ultimately the agents are the closest prong to the merchant. So it's likely the best experience for the merchant if the agent is the one setting that up, managing it, optimizing it, etc.
What's your opinion on processors mandating it?
It's the way the world is going. Like I said, it's going to get more and more upstream. It's been agents for a long time, but there's also been processors within the past couple of years that have started mandating it. Often it's mandated on RDR, but There's a handful of processors that are big processors doing a lot of high risk. They also mandate Ethica and CDRN. Mainly, it used to be for the MasterCard coverage, but nowadays it's for the TC40 coverage. So I think we'll see more and more processors start to adopt that when they see an account that they've mandated is lasting a hell of a lot longer than an account that has whatever the heck, maybe set up through the merchant's direct relationship. So I think we'll start to see it more and more upstream. And I'm going to be surprised if most high risk acquiring banks are not mandating full chargeback mitigation solutions by the end of next year.
I completely agree. As far as the processor's perspective, I can't even count the number of times that we've gotten a chargeback mitigation agreement and we turn on processing and 2 months later there's been no alert sent and the chargebacks are rolling in and the percentages are too high and you have to close the account.
Yeah.
Could have easily been prevented if tools were mandated to be put in place by the processor or by the agent office.
Yeah. From a chargeback mitigation company's perspective, merchants ask us for these agreements all the time. Often we're not even working with the merchant yet. They'll just hit us up. They'll hear about us from who knows where.
Right.
And they'll say, hey, I'm going to start working with you guys. I'm going to get some mids, got to get this chargeback agreement for my applications. Can you send it over? And obviously, we want contracted merchants. We're going to send it to them, but there's not much of a process to verify that they're actually going to set up every mid they get with us. And often the processors don't care. They don't look. Couple of them will reach out to us and they'll verify that a merchant is using us or not, but most of the processors just kind of take it at face value, which is not sustainable in this world.
Yeah, well, with VAMP coming in, it's you just can't stay the same. Everything's going to change. My last question would be, how do you think this is going to affect the smaller mids? Because it seems like, just based off of math and ratios, the smaller accounts that don't have the transactions to balance their overall TC40 thresholds and just ratios and percentages in general are going to be the most affected. So how do you see that as far as for the processors closing down and tightening their underwriting where they're not going to take those smaller accounts?
One thing I really like about VAMP is, say what you will about it, but it's putting risk mitigation back in the hands of the processor and the acquirer, more importantly, which in my opinion is a much better structure than let's micromanage every merchant. And if they have a weird month, we're just going to terminate them and that kind of stuff. So I think it's ultimately on processors to determine where they want to draw the line, which I think is a net benefit versus the prior system that we were on, which means as a processor, you can look at a merchant that has a 10% VAMP ratio, but they have 10 transactions and be like, okay, well, it's probably just an unlucky month. And ultimately it's not really, impacting your ratio that much as a processor. So you can let them run. And if you have a merchant that has, let's say a 1% VAMP ratio, which wouldn't be considered that bad, but they have 10,000 TC40s, maybe you want to turn that off, because ultimately all the transactions and all the TC40s, they roll up to the acquirer level. So I think that is of benefit to the small merchants. And I've seen some processors that are kind of dumb with it. And, they'll see a merchant with 10 transactions and 10% VAMP ratio and they'll ban them. And I've seen some that are just doing it based off account, which to me is crazy. They'll be like, if you have 150 TC40s or more in a single month, we're banning you, which makes no sense, because you could have a merchant doing $5 million a month and 150 TC40s is nothing to them. So I think it's ultimately on processors to determine where they want to draw the line. And I think that's a good thing, personally.
I agree.
Sounds great. Well, do you guys have anything further you want to address, or should we talk about winding it down?
I think we're good. I think
you've done a fantastic job of taking a very complex topic and making it very digestible, making it so people can understand it. And Cosmos, obviously, with his background, you guys play off each other very, very well. And, being here in the room, really, and I enjoyed every moment of this. So thank you, Mark. Always Cosmos.
Thanks,
and I think we can maybe call it a do.
Amazing. Thank you guys for having me. Very honored to be the first member of the Link to Pod podcast.
There you go.
Excited for many, many more. We'll do episode 100 with me again. We'll run it back.
There you go.
You're not coming back for number 2?
Yeah.
It's just Mark the whole time.
Let's talk.
Everyone's really gonna understand Vamp though, I promise.
Well, the big
What you
question, if you come back for number 100, it's going to be really, we'll have no control over the Here's Johnny segment.
All right, fair enough. Fair
Fair
enough.
enough.
Are you gonna give him the $100?
No, maybe 50. We'll settle
Yeah.
in the middle. Well, thanks again for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun.
It was a ton of fun.
All right, guys.
All right.